Why tiptoe through life and end up safely at the door, when you can ride into it, bloody and bruised, knowing that you won? Andy Bell once said these immortal words, and it fits my life perfectly. I ride motocross, and that's what I live to do. Today, I want to tell you about motocross, and why it's the best sport in the world. And I will show you this through these points. 1. The background on motocross. 2. How I got started with motocross and what I do. And 3. Why it's the best sport. According to freestylemotocross.net, motocross races started back in Britain in 1924, an event known as the Scramble. It was held at the Camberley Stadium in Surrey. This would become the earliest known origin of freestyle motocross as we know it today. Then it evolved in Europe, as they shortened the tracks, added jumps, and winding pathways. It was known as the first motocross racetrack. The popularity really increased during the 1930s in Britain. They even held regular races. The only difference from motocross riding today is the bikes. Instead of having dirt bikes made for rough terrain, they used street bikes, so the accident rates were up immensely because these bikes had little traction or suspension for the jumps. As the competition intensified and the terrain increased in difficulty, the technology used for the design of the competition and special event motorcycles would improve, particularly with the introduction of the swinging arm suspension during the early 1950s. Recently, motocross has gradually developed new forms of riding, ranging from indoor stadium arena events such as supercross and arena cross to freestyle motocross, where riders display an array of skills while performing thrilling jumps and stunts. I started riding at age 3 on a little Honda XR50. Now you should probably know the bikes that you can ride are based on height and power, so the XR50 is the smallest bike with the smallest amount of power possible. This is great for younger kids because it has the right height for them and it also doesn't have a lot of power, so it doesn't endanger them. So I first started riding on small tracks with little turns and small tabletops, which are jumps with a flat top so beginners can learn the basics of jumping without getting hurt. Then I started off-road riding, which is where you go up into the mountains or desert-like areas and you ride on trails, over rocks, through rivers, and around trees. It is probably the toughest kind of riding because you don't know what type of terrain is coming up next, and you have to have good control over the bike or else you can really injure yourself because you could run into a tree or even off the side of the mountain, which would not be good. So I started riding down in Grand Junction. It is a pretty simple place to ride because it is all sand, no trees or rocks to worry about, which really helped me become a better rider. Then I got a CRF 230 when I turned 13. This is a very powerful bike. It is perfect for off-road riding because it has great suspension and a huge engine. I even got everything upgraded so it is up to a professional level, well, speed-wise anyways. But another thing that I do is I race. I race against some of the best girl riders in Colorado. It is incredible. I usually race up at Thunder Valley. It is the perfect track to ride on. It is even good enough to hold a huge professional race every year. And it has some of the best riders in it, including Ricky Carmichael, also known as GOAT, the greatest of all time. Another racer is Bubba Stewart, also very well known in motocross. And another rider that used to race in this was Travis Pastrana. Most of you guys would know him from MTV's Nitro Circus. So I do all sorts of motocross, and I have to say it is one of the most fun things I have ever done. You get so much adrenaline from racing, especially when you're on that last lap going over the final jump, and when you realize that you just came in first. That is the best feeling in the world. Also when you're riding off-road, it is so freeing to know that you can go anywhere, ride all over the mountains, and just have fun. There are no rules, no restrictions, nothing stopping you from having an amazing time. Well, except if you take too high of risks. But that's part of the fun. I mean, what would this life be without risks? It would be so boring. There would literally be nothing to do. I think Travis Pastrana said it best when he said, if you're going to die, you might as well do it on the track. Which I think is so true because being on that track is the best place to be. It has the best of every sport. It has adrenaline, speed, crashes, and high competition. Plus, who wouldn't want to go over a huge jump at 30 miles per hour? But it's not that I think other sports are bad. They are fine. But motocross takes a lot of more skill than most people think. 1. You have to have amazing balance, especially since you're going so fast. You wouldn't want to wipe out on the track or in the mountains. Also, you need to have good control, so you can be able to tell when to accelerate, shift gears, and when to impact on jumps. Because if you can't do these things, you can seriously get hurt. It also takes a lot of endurance and arm strength, because you're using all of your weight to turn and jump. and you have to hold on to the bike for a really long time. So you need to have arm muscles so you can support a 100 to 230 pound bike. Ricky Carmichael once said, "Motocross, no timeouts, no half times, no pit stops. That's what other sports are for." I love that quote because it is true. During the race, you can't stop, so you have to try to go faster and longer than everyone else out there. And that's what makes winning the best in this sport, because it is all about skill and how far you can push yourself. Yeah, I love soccer, and I play all the time. But you can't always control what happens in soccer, because you have to depend on your whole team and trust that they will work together. But that's not how motocross is. This sport is all on you. So when you win, it proves that you are the best, that you outlasted everyone, that you pushed yourself harder, that you went faster, you got up when you fell, and you put in that extra effort to win. And it all paid off, because you were dedicated and would not settle for anything but first. So what I told you about today is 1. The background on motocross, 2. How I started riding and what I do, and 3. Why it is the best sport. So don't have a hero, look up to no one, because if someone else is leading, the best you'll ever be is second.